been released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. It was aired by multiple local news outlets. In the call, a teen tells a sea tow dispatcher that the boat's bilge pump has failed, that the boat is sinking. And throughout the call, you can hear this commotion and multiple voices in the background. TMZ then took that same recording and enhanced the audio. The outlet says that some people believe that when you hear this or when you listen to it, they can hear, "Is he dead?" along with other phrases, including "Nolan, check his chest, wake up." So we want to play you clips from both versions. First, here's the original recording.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description?
TMZ obtained the recording and published an enhanced version. The outlet reported that some listeners believed they could hear specific phrases buried in the static. "Is he dead?" and "check his chest," and "Nolan, wake up." Digital forensics expert Robert Freed, who analyzed both versions, reached a different conclusion. When he extracted the audio files and generated transcripts using forensic software, none of those phrases appeared.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Oh, shut the fuck up!
So what exactly did we just hear? I want to go to Robert Freed, digital forensics expert who spent more than 2 decades analyzing electronic evidence. He's the executive vice president of forensics and chief investigative officer at Page One. He's trained law enforcement agencies across the country in digital forensics and computer crime investigations. Thanks for taking.
The enhancement altered the original file. The runtime was different. Content had been redacted from one version, but not the other. Freed cautioned that once someone tells you what to listen for, your brain will search for it in the distortion and often find it, whether it is there or not.
Taking the time. I want to take this step by step. So first of all, you analyzed both versions. What were you able or not able to determine?
Well, you can obviously look at just the totality of both versions and see that there's a time difference right away. One's 8.5 minutes, the other one's 8 minutes and 50 seconds. And what we actually did was we extracted or preserved the videos from the specific websites, the TMZ as well as the WAFB website.
The forensics, he said, did not support the claim. That does not prove the words were never spoken. It means the audio alone cannot establish they were.
Website. And then what we were able to do there is take a digital fingerprint MD5 hash value of those two videos. They were obviously different, which means that they have different content. And then, we went in and we looked at the transcript that was able to be gleaned from both versions. And
so now this goes to the main question. In those transcripts, from your analysis, does anyone say, "Is he dead? Check his chest, Nolan"?
The medical examiner completed Nolan's autopsy and toxicology report, but those documents remain sealed pending grand jury review. Without them, every theory about how Nolan died floats on the same uncertain water. Drowning, foul play, an accident fueled by alcohol. Each possibility has been advanced. None has been ruled out. What is known is that Nolan's family hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump, brought national attention to the case, along with a specific allegation. That race may have played a role in what happened and in the investigation that followed. Nolan was white.
My mind was
the young men on the boat
with to that as well. Am I going to hear those? Things like that. So my perception is, okay, let me hear what everybody's talking about and let's go down to, the specifics of it from a forensic analysis perspective. Can I actually transcribe those specific words from what's being provided to me?
So what do you think law enforcement's doing with this audio? If you were part of the investigation, what would you do with this audio now?
The discrepancy is difficult to reconcile. Either a friendship existed that the family was unaware of, or a young man is claiming a bond that was never real. There is no documentary evidence publicly available to settle it one way or the other.
You can even see, Jesse, that there's redactions in those audio recordings. There's account numbers that were shared. There were phone numbers. All that stuff is different than the original. I want to see the original, and I want to look at the metadata of the original.
So in other words, just real quick, if somebody said their phone number, there could be something in the background. That could be interesting. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Robert Freed, thanks so much.
With the autopsy results inconclusive, rumors continue to swirl around the death of Nolan Wells, the 18-year-old who was found dead after boating with his friends on 4th of July weekend. Wells' parents and their attorney, Ben Crump, spoke with Chris Cuomo earlier tonight, and Nolan's mother said there's only one question she wants answered. Watch.
At the end of the day, we would want what any parent would want.
The family has also questioned why they were not contacted immediately by the other young men on the boat. Brandon Tatum, after speaking with those friends, said they showed him text messages and phone records indicating they had, in fact, attempted to reach Nolan's mother after the incident. The mother has not confirmed receiving those calls. The record
what any
on this
parent would want, which is answers to find out what happened.
They also listened to part of an interview that Brandon Tatum did with one of Nolan's friends, and here's how Nolan's stepfather responded to it.
You heard that kid Trace in the interview say that he was friends with Nolan and that you guys would know him. Do you know him? Do you recognize him?
No, I don't. Just because you park your vehicle in someone's yard.
What no one disputes is that Nolan's phone became a central piece of evidence. His mother retained possession of it after his death. It is unclear whether she was able to provide law enforcement with the passcode, or whether the device was ever subjected to a full file system extraction. The kind
at all, and won't even consider the fact that he believed he was friends with Nolan. It's very shocking to me, and I don't know if they're being genuine, because you don't always know your children's friends,
Right.
Or are they still trying to hold on to this agenda that no one who disagrees with the narrative of racism can possibly be associated with them, because it destroys their money. Well, I'm not saying the parents' money grift, but Benjamin Crump's money grift.
Yeah, I mean, we heard from Nolan's parents, and of course his mother. Any parent would want to know what happened, and she expressed that. But there are motives with Ben Crump and his history. There are lawsuits now.
They're actually there at the scene. And then also, I want to believe his mother. I don't have any reason necessarily, because I don't know her personally, to believe that she would just lie. But when I look at the facts, why wouldn't she communicate with with Warren and their family? They showed me text messages. They showed me phone calls where they called and reached out to her. And if I personally want to know what happened to my child, the first person I'm going to talk to is the people who last saw him alive. I don't understand why they take the position of saying it's us versus y'all. And now you want to subpoena phones and do things like that, which are going to take, I don't know, months for it to come out. And they may not even get.
The family has now issued subpoenas to Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, and Life360, seeking GPS logs, direct messages, login histories, and IP addresses. They have also sent preservation notices to the families of Nolan's friends, legal warnings instructing them not to delete any records. Those notices are
investigations, and it was great to have you on the other night. We got a lot to talk about it. So, this is interesting. The family's attorneys, they're asking for everything, like the direct messages, the GPS data, the login histories, the IP addresses. Realistically, by the way, do all these companies really save and track down all this type of information? Because I was thinking about the Nancy Guthrie case, and there was a whole issue about that stuff being preserved.
Yeah, it all depends, Jesse. It depends on their own policies and procedures in-house there. But, there's good information that may be gleaned from a subpoena. You may be able to get usernames. You may be able to get information related
Investigative analyst Morgan Wright described what a comprehensive digital reconstruction might reveal. The GPS track of the boat overlaid with timestamps from the 911 call. cross referenced against every photo.
Was involved, and that Nolan Wells was drinking, and you have on good authority that drugs potentially could have been involved as well. You also visited the island. Just what are your takeaways from what we know about the conditions there and the status of the investigation?
Well, at this point, and I always encourage people to wait until the full investigation is out before you make a conclusion or a determination of whether somebody's guilty or not. Going out to Horn Island was very revealing to me, because the initial statements from people who were talking about this, especially the Nolan Wells family, that they were acting as if they just dropped Nolan off at an abandoned island where no one was around to watch.
If Nolan was seen on Horn Island after the boat left, the metadata from a single snapshot post could confirm it. If messages were deleted in the hours,
no one was around to watch him get murdered or something. And then now you go and look at it and you go, well, no, there was tons of people there. That gives me encouragement that somebody saw what happens. But it also proves in many ways that they didn't just abandon him as if he was a little kid on the island by himself. So seeing the island, going there, gave me a pretty good understanding about what happened.
Well, certainly injecting race, and we don't have all the facts either, is not helpful. And we will continue to watch this. Brandon Tatum, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your accounting of it.
Okay, thank you for having me on.
Robert Freed, Executive Vice President, Forensics, and Chief Investigative Officer at Page One, who has spent more than 2 decades analyzing digital evidence, training law enforcement agencies across the country in digital forensics and computer crime investigations.
That evidence either exists or it does not. The grand jury will see it. The public, for now, will not. What remains, while those sealed findings sit behind closed doors, is a case built on fragments. A group of young people on an island, alcohol, a disabled boat, a young man left behind or left willingly. The difference between those 2 words is the entire case. A 911 call that may contain a confession or may contain only noise.
Someone's yard doesn't mean that they have to know you. Sounds more to me like he's more focused on getting people to know him and getting away from the fact that his so-called best friend is not here anymore.
Brandon Tatum is the host of the Officer Tatum Show, and like I just mentioned, he spoke with some of Nolan's friends. He joins us now. Brandon, thank you for being here. So first, just your reaction to Nolan's stepfather saying he doesn't recognize his friend Trace, who you interviewed, basically alleging that he didn't know him very well at all, if at all.
It's slightly disappointing. I mean, I don't know these people, to be honest. I don't know who's really friends or not. I'm just going off of what Trayston told me. But Trayston did share pictures of him with...
A verdict will come. The sealed reports suggest one is already being assembled. What remains uncertain is whether those findings will bring the certainty that Nolan Wells' mother has said, plainly and repeatedly, is all she has ever wanted.